All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Way of the Other Dragons podcast. In today's episodes, we're gonna have a little mixed bag of goodies. We have Robert with us today.
What's up, guys?
We have Tim,
Good evening.
and once again, we have Amy back.
Good afternoon, because where I am, it's afternoon.
Yay! In today's little mixed bag, we'll be starting off continuing with our last topic. We had this topic a few sessions ago. How many? Don't ask. It's in regards to women's self-defense. Amy was missing during that session, so we figured maybe we could catch up with her today. We can start with just Amy. What's your experience with women's self-defense in particular?
Well, as a woman, I've had to defend myself. Pretty much everybody has. And most of my experience was actually before I started training. After I started training, a lot of the sexual assaults and things I suffered before stopped happening. And I don't know if that was a result of the training, if because I was carrying myself differently, because now I'm a martial artist, guys just left me alone, or if it was because I sort of aged out of it. Most sexual assaults happen to women ages 25 and younger. I started training when I was 26. So I have had real life experience, and I kind of am looking for that level of reality when I train. I'm not in this for sport. I'm in this for self-defense. At this point in my life, let's face it, I'm probably never going to get attacked again. So at this point of my life, I'm really just doing it for fun. I like to think I'm training very hard for a fight that I'm never going to have. And I'm having a lot of fun in the.
That's cool. Does anybody have any questions regarding this topic for Amy? Because we talked about it before. However, we didn't have a actual woman give us her opinions or experience in it. So there was a few questions that we didn't have a chance to get.
First, I kind of want to talk about something that Robert said, and I think everything he said was great. I just want to give a flip side to Robert was talking about Wing Chun and it being very direct and a really great self-defense style for women, which it is. And everything he said, I agree with. But I wanted to give just a kind of a flip side to that, and that is the soft style of women's self-defense. And by soft, I, of course, am not meaning punching softly. I'm meaning using soft movements, which would be the opposite of Wing Chun, which is awesome and amazing. But if there's a woman whose personality isn't, she wants to be a striker and she wants to be really direct like that, then there is a soft style side to it. And for me, for my age, I was a striker when I was young, and I fought with a lot of punching and kicking and things when I was younger. I'm 51 now, and that still works for me at my age. But I'm looking into my future. When I'm 71, am I still going to want to strike all the time? Am I still going to want to be a striker? Probably not. So I'm switching more to grappling. And one thing Robert was talking about was Wing Chun being straight. There's not a lot of circular motions, and that is terrific for Wing Chun, what Wing Chun is doing. But we use, in my Okinawan Kempo, we use a lot of circular motions because we're clearing the space and we're feeding whatever is coming into us. There's a hand coming in, either punching us or grabbing us, and we're feeding that into our other hand so we can grapple. It's just a different way of being. And I don't think one is better than the other. I think that it's just whatever your personality is, whatever your body type is, you fight for what you want to do. So when listening to you guys talking, I just wanted to give that other point of view. It's just a different way. and you do what's right for you.
Are you done with? Are you, sorry, I don't want to interrupt. So I just want to make sure
Go
you're done
ahead.
with what your comment.
Yeah.
So I want to
And I'm
clarify
not.
a little bit.
Yeah, please do.
So what I said about being it direct and using the shortest path, all that stuff, and a striking art. That being said, Wing Chun is frequently done by weak, old, or women who just don't want to strength train and they're not interested in the type of thing you're saying. In my opinion, my
Mm-hmm.
perspective is that even somebody who's old, I mean, my grandmaster, he's 70, I don't know how many years, he's 70 plus. He would whoop my ass all day, and he can whoop most people's ass. And it's really, it's not about being a blunt strength art. It's more of using physics, angles, things to your advantage, leverage especially. So I don't know. I don't know if maybe you misunderstood what I was
What?
saying, but I don't necessarily see it. I see what you're saying about the grappling stuff. You don't necessarily want to strike, but that's actually part of our system as well. Is we have.
I'm losing him.
Apologies, Robert. You seem to have cut out.
Yeah. I'm gonna step in and say I think I didn't
And so-
introduce it the way I wanted to. From what I know of Wing Chun, it uses everything that women have: direct, intelligence, strategy. It is awesome and amazing. And I'm not saying that it's not. I just wanted to give the flip side to that there's also a soft way to accomplish all the same goals.
Is my microphone working right?
Now it is. It cut out for a moment.
Okay, sorry. So that's the other thing I wanted to clarify is that Wing Chun is a mixture of soft and hard. There is if your Wing Chun does not include softness, you're doing it wrong, in my opinion, at least. There should be a lot of soft. Like if you're blocking it or redirecting anything like that, it should be completely a soft art. The only time when we're ever hard is the moment of a strike. So if you're punching, it should be a hard strike. Very few of we don't even use the term block actually, but if you are blocking, it needs to be hard enough that it actually hurts your opponent for certain types of blocks without having to explain more. But yeah, so I mean, most of the art, at least the Wing Chun I do, is actually pretty soft.
Oh, cool. I've never met a Wing Chun person. I've only talked to you guys on the internet. I'm so looking forward to meeting you next month. But the other Wing Chun people that I've met are pretty hard, and it's great and awesome and amazing. I'm not knocking it at all, and I think I didn't introduce it the way I had planned it in my head. That from what I know of Wing Chun, it utilizes everything that women have and that we are. We are brutal when we need to be. We are smart. We're strategic. You're talking about using physics and angles and things like that. And it uses everything that we are. And it is a great art for women's self-defense for that reason. But this other grappling side, the thing that really sucked me into the Okinawan Kempo that I'm doing is what you're saying about blocks is not really a block, it's a strike. And we use the term block, but we kind of put it in air quotes because it's not really a block, it's a strike. And the way we block is just a little more nuanced than I've seen anywhere else. We block with like an arm. We block with both bones in the arm and rotate at the moment of impact, which is incredibly safe for an older person to do, because that's one of the things, because I come from Kaju Kembo, one of the things that concern me as I'm getting older is blocking with the side of my arm. And if I'm blocking really hard, I'm actually blocking so hard it's a strike, and I am striking a younger, stronger man, and I'm a woman in my 70s, I could throw the most perfect block in the world and break my arm just because of physics. But with
Right.
the way that we do it in the Okinawan Kempo is we impact with both bones and rotate, which spreads out the impact, and it's incredibly safe. Do you guys do that
Well,
too, or is it just a completely different striking style,
no,
blocking style?
I mean, what you said is, and actually, I've watched Okinawan Kempo, and it's one of the closest martial arts to Wing Chun that I've ever seen. Honestly, watching it, I see a lot of
Awesome.
similarities. I mean, I've seen it. People have shared in the Wing Chun group, like, is this Wing Chun or Okinawan Kempo? There are really similar movements and ways of interacting with your opponent. And yeah, I mean, it's the same. The only thing I would add is the reason we don't call it a block is because in my mind, a block is someone punches and you stop it. You just you put your arm out and that's it, and you block it and it's done. What we do is if a punch comes, we intercept and then absorb slowly. I don't know how to explain it, but we move with the motion towards us and simultaneously use that power that's coming at us to strike with the other arm. It's a simultaneous block and attack. And that's one of the things with Wing Chun. It's not like I block your punch, then I punch you. It's I block your punch and punch you at the same time and use that power that my other arm absorbed to put it into my other hand. And that's kind of a yin-yang circular motion thing, which I think is used in a lot of arts.
Yeah, that's what we do. Okay, I am so looking forward to meeting you next month, because I bet you're right. I bet we're going to have just so much similarities in our two systems. This is going to be awesome.
I agree.
Yeah. Who's gonna punch who in the face? Because
I'm gonna give her the chance to punch me first, and then I won't punch her, but we'll see.
I hear a lot of smack talk, and I want to see results.
I don't need to re-earn my code name Facer.
Oh, you see that, Robert? She's just like, you're not worth it.
Hey, I'm ready for it. If she can earn it and it's on video, and I'll gladly be
no.
Codename Facer example.
I want it on video, definitely.
No.
World star.
I have no doubt that Amy could whoop me 2 ways to Sunday.
No. I don't think so. But thank you.
I'm terrified of you, Amy. That's a fact.
Why? Just don't attack me from behind. That's the only thing. If you don't attack me from behind, we're good.
Or don't pull guard either, because she'll stab you.
Yeah, if in front, if I can identify it's you, we're good. But if you attack me from behind and I don't know it's you, I'm not responsible for my action.
She carries a knife at all times, so you better watch out.
She carries like 6 knives and like a sai and a staff and all sorts of other things I don't even know how to name.
Yeah, but she only has 2 hands, so you only have to worry about 3 knives.
She probably has a knife hidden in her hair or something too.
How'd you know?
Yeah, I've seen that movie.
No, I actually do have hair jewelry that is very stabby. Hair clips that are very stabby. And
Jesus.
I'll show you.
Go get some tessin, these hair spikes.
I think I've seen that in a movie before.
It's also an Okinawan Kobudo weapon.
What, hair spikes?
Yeah, or hair needles.
I saw it on a kung fu movie. You know, those guys that shave half their head and have a really long ponytail. One of the guys at the end of the ponytail had like a knife, and then he would like throw kung fu and then whip his head around, and then the hair would like do like 2 circles and cut some other guy behind him.
I've seen that, and I actually thought about doing something like that when I was doing hardstyle Kaiju Kempo. My hair was down to my waist. I think it was past my waist. It was down to my butt, and I was thinking about doing something like that. I was experimenting with it, but then my hair got so long that my seafood would just choke me with it, so I stopped. And he actually got that from his mom when she took her whichever I can't remember which belt test it was. I want to say fourth dan. She was fighting with some guy, and her hair was down to her knees at that point, but her hair is thinner than mine. So she had it all in a top bun. And so she's fighting with this guy, and she got him in some sort of hold, and she's punching him in the face. And he's still fighting back. She didn't have him quite submitted yet. And then her hair came out. And so it was in a braided bun. So the bun came out, but it was still braided. And so she just wrapped it around his neck and choked him, made him tap.
Jesus.
Thug life.
So since Sifu Dan saw his mom do that, then as soon as my hair got long enough for chokes, then he started choking me, but it wasn't quite long enough for me to choke somebody else because it was only down to my butt, not down to my knees. So at that point, I abandoned the idea of putting razors in my braid or something like that because it was just going to get used against me.
Well, that is a very interesting story.
I literally don't know if I've ever met a woman as hardcore or deadly as you, Amy. The things you talk about, the things you talk about, I'm like, wow, she's next level.
I mean, and this is now. Just imagine when she was younger. She's probably like wearing a red wig, all black suit, working for the Russians.
I don't know. I think she gets deadly as she gets older. She's gonna be crazy when she's like 70.
That will be fun.
Tim, did you have any questions for Amy on that particular topic?
On women's self-defense, I got the question, Amy, would you prefer as an instructor a male or a woman?
I think you need both, to be honest. You need a woman to talk about these things. There's one reason why women's self-defense gets separated out from self-defense in general is because of the sensitive nature of sexual assault. And you need to have a woman there talk about this and to be safe. My friend Jay teaches women's self-defense, and he creates a very safe space. But these are still women coming in that don't know him yet. And it takes a little while for them to get comfortable. They might not totally be comfortable. And he sometimes brings me in to teach with him, and they'll pull me aside and talk with me about things they won't talk to him about. Even though he's a totally safe ear, they don't know that yet. And women who have been going to his classes for a long time do know that, and they are comfortable talking with him. So I think that it is good to have women there who have been there, who do understand, and who can demonstrate how to do this on a bigger, stronger man. To do that, you need a bigger, stronger man present. So I really think you need both. And when I've helped him teach, we would divide the class to who needs his skills versus who needs my skills. So I would take half the class and I would teach them whatever he asked me to teach them. And then he would come around and pressure test them. Tammy Yard McCracken, who's one of the violence dynamics teachers, did a seminar. It was a weekend seminar last year that I think was the perfect way to do it. And she had, the first day was women only women self-defense teachers, only women could be present. And that way they could discuss all these issues and in a safe space with only women. And then they started working on the hard skills, I think toward the end of Saturday and then early morning Sunday. Then after lunch on Sunday, then they brought the men in, the big, huge, strong men in. And they stood against the wall and waited for the women to say, hey, I want you to pressure test me. And so it was up to the women who wanted to be pressure tested to say to a man, come train with me. It was not mandatory. And even with Jay, it's not mandatory. He has me or other women instructors there if a woman doesn't want to be with a man for a certain technique because she might get triggered. So it was the men were standing against the wall, like wallflowers, waiting for the women to approach them, saying, hey, you come here, attack me. And that's really empowering to have the women in control of the situation. It can be a problem with men teaching women self-defense. The men are still in control of the situation. You're telling a woman, I need you to be assertive, but yet she's still, because of the teacher-student relationship, she's still in a submissive role. And that can be a huge problem. Doing it this way I think was perfect because it allowed these women to get into the assertive role. You come here, you man, come here, you attack me, you pressure. This is what I want.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. It made a lot of sense to me.
That's cool. Any other pointers you give to other women looking to get some self-defense class, Amy?
I think everybody should train, and I especially think all women should train. And so pointers on taking a women's self-defense class or getting started
Just
in
in
training.
general, like for example, it's a woman, she's interested in it, for her own safety, but has no idea on how to go about it.
Do it. Google, internet, just do it. And don't think that only one class is enough to make you safe. I don't want, I mean, on the one hand, yeah, sure, go look for the best class in your area, but honestly, just do it. It's such a huge subject. Self-defense is such a huge subject that there's no way you're going to get everything you need in just a few hours or even just a weekend. I mean, how long have we all been doing this? So, just do it, get started, go, keep going. The one thing I really want to say, and I really want to get this phrase out of women's self-defense and self-defense in general is, well, if you do that, you're going to get yourself killed. And I hear this all the time, and some of my teachers even say that. And the last thing you want for a woman in a self-defense situation is to be afraid to fight back. She needs to just go for it. If she can't think of what to do, just go ape shit. And a lot of things work better for women than work for men. Eye gouges, for one, for whatever reason, tend to work better for women than against men. And so I hear people say, don't do dirty tricks, don't do eye gouges, you're going to get yourself killed. You don't know what's going to work. You're not there. And I've successfully defended myself against 2 different rape attempts using eye gouges. But I also got gouged one time while sparring, and I kept fighting. And I want to say it's because I'm, big, strong, tough, and I can fight through an eye gouge. The honest truth is I was too stupid to know I was eye gouged. I couldn't see out of my right eye. I thought I got a piece of lint in there, and I was so adrenalized I never felt the pain. So it was a 3-round fight, with a bigger, stronger man, and I got gouged halfway through the second round, and I finished the round. I won the first and second round. In between rounds, I tried to wash out my eye because I thought I had a piece of lint in it, and I couldn't wash it out. And they said, "Are you going back in for a third round?" I already won the fight. It's 2 out of 3. But it's like, yeah, what the heck? I'll keep fighting. Why not? So I went in and lost the third round because I was blind in one eye. But I ended up winning the fight because I won the first 2 rounds. So it is perfectly possible if you're adrenalized and if you step into the ring or the cage or whatever, and you're accepting the fact that you're probably going to get injured and you get eye gouged or you break your nose or whatever, yeah, you can keep fighting. But a man who attacks a woman isn't looking for a good fight. He's not looking to test his skill. He doesn't want to see who's the better fighter, her or him. He wants whatever he wants from her. He wants to take her down quickly as possible. And he chose her because he thinks she's not going to put up a good fight. She puts up a good fight, then suddenly he's out of there. She gouges her eye. I gouged those guys' eyes, and I made the price for victory higher than they were willing to pay. These guys who attacked me were bigger and stronger, and in a ring, they probably could have beat me sparring, but we weren't sparring. That's not what it was about. We weren't testing to see who was the better fighter. They wanted to rape me. I didn't want to be raped. I gouged them. I made the price higher than they wanted to pay, and they were done. And that goes for a lot of the cheats and dirty tricks that for whatever reason work, well, probably for that reason, work better when applied by women than applied by men. Just has to do with the type of guy who's attacking us. They're not looking for a fight. And the fact that we're not fighting to prove we're the better fighter. We're fighting for our freaking lives. We are going to win.
Right. So
Yeah, that's
I
very
don't have a direct comment about women's self-defense because I'm not a woman, but I do say that the reason I got into Wing Chun, and I may have mentioned this before, is because of my sister. She's 5'3", weighs about 110 pounds, and we worked together at the time. And she had saw a story of these girls who were kept captive in some guy's basement for like 10 years. They raped them daily, all this horrible stuff that we don't
I
need to get
remember the
into.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when she read that story, she told me, she was like, Rob, that can never happen to me. I have to be able to at least defend myself. If those women had been able to defend themselves, they wouldn't have gotten into that position. And, I grew up, I didn't really care about martial arts, honestly. It wasn't something I always cared about. I didn't grow up watching Bruce Lee movies and stuff like that. But anyway, ever since we did Wing Chun and everything, she is now someone that if any guy tried to attack, she would destroy him. I mean, I'm scared of my sister, and I'm twice her weight, and she's brutal. And so I think any training, I mean, I know you said, like, you really should have the most training as possible, but really, I think any kind of training is better than nothing. And really, all women should have at least some formal training, and I don't mean a seminar or a weekend women's defense class, but they should go spend a couple years training, and it would really benefit them if they ever did come into a situation where they needed to defend themselves.
Yeah, I agree. And even a lot of the situations I get in with women who find out that I train, and I sometimes help my friend teach women self-defense, and even in my various styles, I assistant teach and substitute teach. And they're like, okay, what can you tell me right now to make me safe? And I have like 5 minutes. How are you going to make a woman safe in 5 minutes? And the main thing is situational awareness. Be aware of your surroundings, and be aware of your surroundings, be aware of who's around you, be aware of what is around you. So there's environmental awareness, where be aware of the place, and then the human awareness, be aware of who's around you, how are they looking at you, what is their body language like. The next thing is boundaries. You need to have boundaries, you need to enforce boundaries. Predators are going to try to push through your boundaries. It's not enough to say no, you have to say hell no. And you have to really mean it. You have to be willing to enforce it. And I've read a lot of stories, even some last night, about women who needed other people's help to get out of a situation, and they told the predator no, and he just pushed through the boundary. And you have to be able to say not just no, but hell no, and I will enforce it. Then there's the physical part. You have to actually be able to enforce it, because that's a lot of what happened to me. Is guys pushed my boundaries, I said no, they pushed again, and I said hell no, I will enforce it. And because I'm a small woman, they're like, I don't believe you can enforce it. And that's when I got grabbed and attacked, and I physically enforced it, and I showed them that they were wrong about me. And I did that without any training at all. And the thing that you need to do is give yourself permission to go apeshit. Give yourself permission to be violent. And that's hard for a lot of women because we're trained not to. We've been told from the time we're very, very young to be gentle and to be nice. And that nice is incompatible with being violent, which is not true at all. We have all seen movies with heroes. The hero is both nice and violent. Well, that's true of women too. We can be both nice and violent. And so getting that mental image that, yes, you can be a nice, sweet, gentle person, mother, nurturer, everything, and you can be violent, just getting that mental image will go a long way to helping a woman stay safe without any training whatsoever. And of course, training is more, and training is better, and having a lot of training and having this is the best. But the fact is, a lot of women and a lot of men aren't going to seek the training that they should.
Well, that was a very enlightening subject. And this
Any
is the
other
part where all of you agree
questions?
at the same time.
Yes, that was awesome. I thought so, and I
Silently
thought most
nodding.
of what I said was good, except I think I accidentally bashed Wing Chun in the beginning that I didn't mean to.
You didn't.
Okay.
Oh, don't worry, I do it all the time.
I mean, I am where I am today in part because of an internet friend a long time ago who did Wing Chun and who guided me. And so I have total respect for the art. I just wanted to give us another point of view from what you were saying, and everything you were saying, Robert, last time was great. I just wanted to give another point of view of that.
Cool. Now, like, we have a short list right here and a little martial arts medley. I think we're gonna move on to the next topic, which is what makes martial arts traditional, according to your own personal beliefs and opinions. Who'd like to take this one? Tim?
Not me.
Tim, would you like
Oh,
to
okay.
take this one?
I give it a try, at least. Well, yeah, for me, martial art becomes traditional if a certain type of teaching and certain curriculum is passed on over, well, let's say 2 to 3 generations. So that would make it for me something you can call traditional. It's not about wearing a gi or something like that. That's okay-ish. It's sometimes part of the tradition, but mainly it's for me about the curriculum and the way of teaching.
Huh. So you'd say at least 3 generations of the same curriculum?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. What about Robert? What makes a martial arts system a traditional system, according to you?
Robert?
Hmm.
Robert?
Robert. All right, we'll cut this part out. We'll make it seem like I just asked it directly to Amy. I'll do it again, and then I'll ask Robert after Amy.
So the question is what? Oh, go ahead and ask me and we'll make it smooth and nice.
What about you, Amy? What makes martial arts system traditional, according to you?
I don't know. I'll go. Sorry, I'll just defer to Tim. I mean, when I did Kaji Kembo, I was the third generation student. I mean, it got to me from Sijo Emperado to my teachers, then to me. So I was the third generation student. I think I am with Okinawan Kempo as well, from Odo Sensei to my teachers to me. So I guess that makes it, but I guess that makes it traditional. I don't know. Tim's the historian.
So, like, according to
what he
you, you're
said.
still unsure of what specifically would qualify a system to be traditional?
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at something more modern. Look at Kaji Kembo, which came about in the 1940s and 50s. Is that considered traditional? And look at Krav Maga. I mean, is that considered traditional? I don't
That's a
know.
good question.
Yeah. And if so, why?
Yeah.
And if not, why? I
Yeah,
mean, Kaji Kembo.
if it
Go ahead,
has
Tim.
a tradition of or an idea of teaching things in a certain way, and they keep doing it in that certain way, it kind of makes it a tradition. So I would say if it's at least a few decades old, you can call that system somehow traditional. It's not like an award or anything to call something traditional. It's a neutral term. It's not good or bad to be traditional.
That's a good point.
Can
What
I bring
do
up a
you think about
side?
that, Robert?
To me,
Okay.
traditional is a really I don't really like the word, but to me it maybe means something different to that it does others. You know, like people will say like, oh, TMA, traditional martial arts, and kind of categorize it all together, and to me that's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I don't even know what that means, but to me what traditional means is like within Wing Chun there's actually a type of Wing Chun that's called traditional Wing Chun. And then to my actual lineage, we call it traditional Ip Man Wing Chun. And so the word traditional, to me, what it means is that if a master changes the system into their own style, and then it's passed on even to one school, it is now traditional Rob Darger Wing Chun because it's my own style of Wing Chun. It's traditional in that it's what I created and passed on to somebody else. It doesn't have to be centuries old. It doesn't have to be going back for a long time. It's traditional in that it's a specific style of a martial art that is passed on to somebody else, and therefore you call it traditional Rob Wing Chun, whatever. And that I think that applies to any martial art if it's altered at all, and then it's carried on. That same alteration is carried on to other schools or beyond that, then it becomes traditional, in my opinion.
That's pretty good.
Hopefully that makes sense. I mean, does that make sense?
It
Yeah,
did.
it
It did.
does.
Yeah.
I personally believe just enough to call it traditional is the system being put into a curriculum and it having principles that are adhered to, and that's about it. Some people would say, "Oh, that's just modern martial arts," but then there's other things that are traditions that aren't really that old. Like for example, like the U.S. Marines had a certain combat system in World War II, and they changed to a few up until now, but they're still considered traditionalists, like in their own way of seeing things. On some things, they're into the modern stuff, but if you talk to them, they themselves see themselves as traditionalists. So, kind of depends on the person if they follow certain traditions that they put on themselves. That makes it traditionalist, you know? Like, do enough cardio every day, run a mile every day, nonstop, take no breaks. Okay, that's our tradition. That's what we do. Muay Thai is considered pretty modern, but it's also a amalgamation of a lot of other traditionalist styles. And Muay Thai itself follows traditions as well when they're not inside the ring. So that would also fit under traditionalist ideal. You know, it's a couple generations old as well. So I think it's a broad term. It's very opinion based. It's very it seems like something that people would nitpick a lot for no point other than kind of seeming like they're cooler than everybody else. Like, oh, you're not as traditional as I am, therefore I'm cooler. Or, oh, you're too traditional, you're not as modern as I am, so you're not as cool. When at the end of the day, you know, it's if the tradition makes you good, then that's good, whether it's ridiculous or not. If the tradition makes you bad, well, then it's bad, whether it looks cool or not. Like, you know, Shaolin are very traditionalist, but they're also known to be mostly performance based, not actual combat based. But they look amazing, so on and so forth.
No, I agree. It's used as like, yeah, it's more of. To me, it literally means nothing because what martial art isn't traditional? To me, I don't understand what that means. Name a martial art that's not traditional.
A lot of people say boxing, and then you talk to actual professional boxers, and then you realize, oh, never mind. All of the good ones are traditionalists, and all of the trying to be cool ones are the non-traditional.
Yeah,
So at the end of the
because
day, it's like, well, isn't it the same thing?
well, my question to that would be, okay, do they not follow the same traditions? Do they not hit heavy bags? Do they not do a speed bag? Do they not jump rope? Do they not do the same punches? They're following the same tradition as the same people before them, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, particularly, especially in boxing, like it's been traditional since like maybe Jack Dempsey, which is what the 40s or something.
Well, and before that, it was probably similar. I mean, that's why I don't understand the whole traditional thing. To me, that's why I call traditional, you're following what the people before you did, and if it's different in the same art than other people, then you call it traditional, that different style. And that's why I call systems and style different things. There's systems like karate, and then there's different styles. I'm not familiar with karate, but you have Goju and Shotokan, whatever. They're just different styles of a system. And within Wing Chun, that's why, like with Wing Chun, you have hard styles, you have soft styles, you have mixtures, you have different training methods. There are different styles within a system. And to call something traditional to me is you're following the tradition of that specific style.
Yep.
Can I interrupt real quick?
No.
Okay. No, I have to. I just got
Sorry,
called
go
into
ahead.
work early. And so if we can do the next subject something on which you want my input and save ones for which you don't want my input. Do the next subject something for which you want my input, and then I got to go to work after that.
Yeah,
Choose something
literally
I can
all of
talk
them were
about.
picked specifically because they would have your input.
We always like your
Except for the
input,
last
Amy.
one.
So how about you pick what we talk about next?
Yeah, the
Shoot,
last one is
what
the only one that didn't really matter. All of the other ones are like
what
specifically because you would want to put your input on them.
where is the list? Start throwing some out and I'll choose one.
Well, it doesn't have to be a
Should we do
subject. Just
music?
talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Should we do music while training? Or no?
If
It's
that's what you
mostly
want to talk about, you're the one heading out. Talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I think we had kind of a cool discussion as we were leading up to this, before we were on the air, about training to music and also doing kata to music. And I've seen people who do kata to music. They choreograph the kata to music, and to me, that's not really kata. That's martial arts dance, and it's cool, but that's not really kata. But I also, my son is a musician, and he is obsessed with playing music, as I am with training and practicing. And so we frequently are practicing at the exact same time. And so I found myself practicing kata to live jazz saxophone, which is so awesome. That is so cool. He also plays classical clarinet, and so sometimes I do kata to classical clarinet, which isn't as cool. And one time I was out in my backyard, and my neighbor had their friend over who was playing banjo. So I'm doing traditional kata to banjo music, which was weird. But it was just really cool. Also, in my jiu-jitsu class, my coach, when we roll live, he puts on music, and he turns it up really loud. And we were talking about the effects. I want Ricky to talk about this. The effects of the tempo of music and the type of music, how that affects how you're fighting. For us, I mean, it's just always kind of hard, fast music, and I haven't really thought about it. I don't even really think about the music when I'm rolling. I'm not sure I even really hear it, other than one time when I was very beginning, and he was fighting with me. We were rolling, and he's like singing along to the music while fighting with me, and I'm beginner. I don't know anything, and I'm fighting as hard as I can, and he's just like singing. And I'm like, this is humiliating. Come on, at least act like I'm some effort. So that was just kind of funny. But I really liked what Ricky was saying about that. And when I roll and when I do kata to music, I'm gonna start thinking about its effect on me now. So please talk about that, Ricky.
Which part? How like high upbeat music makes you gets your adrenaline pumping. It makes you like when you're tired and you don't want to exercise, put some upbeat music. All of a sudden, you want to move around.
Well, I think more interestingly. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah, go ahead. Maybe I'm missing it.
More interestingly, you were talking about how you sometimes put on slow music for sparring. And that was super interesting what you were saying.
Yeah, I noticed, like, for example, if it's a day when I'm just going to work out, exercise, lift weights, that kind of stuff, and I'm tired, or I just want to put more effort, I can put fast music and that wakes me up or makes me just want to go harder. But if there's slow music, it makes me relax, and sometimes it makes me not want to do stuff, just sit down, enjoy the music, or, do normal stuff around the house. So I noticed, like, with sparring, instead of putting high beat music, I would put slow, just slow stuff because it would calm me down and that would make instead of getting me pumped in the zone and wanting to just go all out, it would make me pull back. And in my opinion, that's a little bit better because when you're on a actual scenario outside of like a training environment, there's not gonna be any music to like pump you up. But it'd be better if I'm able to put my body from like a calm state all the way up to 100 instead of like always waiting for some sort of stimuli to get me moving. So putting the slow music gets my body into the rhythm of like, okay, we're always gonna be calm even in the middle of a fight, but even while we're calm and relaxed, we still gotta be able to match whatever intensity we want to get to.
I like that.
Yeah, that is so cool. I've never even thought about putting on slow music for sparring, and I think you're right.
Yeah, it's sort of like when you're putting a lot of stress on yourself during training. Like maybe not a lot in martial arts gyms and stuff. But like for example, in boot camp, sometimes people are yelling at you and basically telling you, "Hey, can you like quit already? Because you're not good enough." And not doing the opposite of motivating you because they want you to not be motivated. Because when you're actually doing the job, there's a lot of other things that are not going to motivate you. So they want to put that sort of stimulus into you of like, hey, throughout your entire career, you're going to be told to quit. So I just want to make sure that you remember that when you want to quit, don't and just keep going because it's just whatever. Just be calm, be relaxed, and do whatever you want. If what you want is to fight somebody and punch them in the face and move around, do that. Don't rely on them hitting you first and you getting excited and getting into a fight. Don't rely on your nerves getting the best of you and making you shaky and making you run away from a fight. Just rely on whether you're going to fight or not. Make it your decision 100%. Whether you win or not, well, that's a large variable. But whether or not you choose the fight to happen, make it your choice.
That is.
Yeah. What about Tim? Tim, I heard he likes to do kata with music.
No, not really. I once was forced to do kata to music. I had to do it for my jiu-jitsu first test. My trainer said to me, "Well, you have to do kata with background music and make it as aesthetic as you can." I sit there and thought to myself, "Well, I really don't like that. I never like doing my kata to music because as a musician, I really get carried away with the music. I listen to it, I analyze it, so the rhythm of the kata gets more in sync with the music I'm listening to. So, well, it fucks up my kata. That's not good. So I thought, well, what could I do about that? And I chose what was it? I did the Heian Yonnan kata from Shotokan Karate. I wrote my own music to it to fit exactly the rhythm and the speed of the kata I'm executing it. So I somehow moved around the negative side effects of other songs that I could have chosen for the kata performance.
So you find the music very disruptive.
This disruptive, and it takes my mind off of fighting, or in general, I'm not really able to do housework and listen to music because I end up either singing to the music and standing there, or just thinking, okay, the guitar and the drum set are playing really tight and cool together, so I'm getting caught up in it, and that's not a good thing for martial arts.
Huh, that's
I got a
very
question.
interesting.
I got to plug back in. Hold on.
Yeah.
I had to put my microphone back in. Did I hear you say that you wrote a piece of music for which kata? Pinyon Godan?
Heian Yonnan, Pinan Yonnan.
Pinyon Yondan?
Yeah.
Can you share it with me at some point, since I know that kata?
Yeah, sure. I have to dig through some of the old hard drives, but I will find it.
Cool. Awesome.
In regards to that little piece of music that you wrote about it, does it go something around the lines of na 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 na?
Not really.
Sorry, I
I
saw
was
the
tempted.
opportunity and I had to take it.
Oh, I want to tell a quick story. This it's a tangent, but then I gotta go. But I mean, you guys all know the song Kung Fu Fighting, right?
Might have heard of it.
Everybody was kung fu fighting.
Yeah, that's the song.
Also.
So when I was at Rory Miller's seminar in Berkeley, Oakland, California, the Saturday night of the seminar, there was a party at the dojo. And about 9:00, all of the non-martial artists left. And there was only us martial artists in the dojo. Everybody else had left. And so everybody kind of paired up and started sparring. And mostly kind of slow motion sparring, I'll show you what I got and you show me what you got. And the owner of the dojo, Peter, he had a practice knife on him that he kept on him for things like this, for these sort of dojo dance fights. So he could just like pull it out and cut somebody. You're sparring with somebody else, and he'll just pull out this knife and cut you up. Practice knife, of course, he's not really cutting you. So it became everybody has a corner of the mat. Every pair had a corner of the mat. And they're fighting, and then you had to be aware of these practice knives. Somebody in another pair could come out and cut you. And so it was also a bunch of situational awareness. And I do Aikido, and there was another Aikidoist there, and I was like, hey, let's roll. So we went out there, and I don't know how to roll in a small space yet. I rolled pretty long, and especially then I was beginner. I'm now intermediate level student. So we're throwing each other, and we couldn't stay in a corner of the mat. We're going through all these other pairs, which is a huge amount of situational awareness to not get stepped on as we're throwing each other. And the energy was in the place was so amazing. And it was exactly like that song. And I felt that doing Aikido and being very aware of energy and picking up people's energy and throwing each other all over the mat instead of just in our own little corner helped us to really pick up on that feeling. And it was exactly like that song. And it was one of the coolest experiences in my life. It was amazing. And it was so cool that I texted my Aikido sensei and I said, I have all this amazing energy right now. I'm going to try to keep it going until Monday. This was Saturday night, and I was flying back home on Monday. And my flight was coming in right at the beginning of the Aikido class, and I said, I'm driving straight from the airport to the dojo, and I want you to feel this energy that I have, if I can keep it going. So I kept it going through meditation and other things. And I get off the plane, and my husband picked me up, and I'm like, take me to the dojo. And I went in there in the middle of class, and I like sensing, you have to throw me, you have to feel this. And so we did basically Jiawaza. We were just like free attacks and a few throws. He's like, oh my God, this is amazing. This energy you have, it's incredible. Everybody throw Amy. So then the whole class was like a rondori, and everybody throwing me so they could pick up the energy. It was just the coolest thing, and to be able to share that energy, to keep it going. And then that was Monday night. The next night I was training with Eric Sensei, and I tried to keep it going for him. And we were ground fighting that night. And I told him, I feel the energy waning, but I tried to keep it for you. So let's roll. And we rolled for a little while. And I said, so what do you think? Can you feel it? He's like, yeah, you feel a little bit high right now. And it eventually waned. But at that memory, I'm feeling it coming back, just thinking about it. And it was exactly like the song. It was just the coolest thing in the world. And with that, I have to go to work.
All right, Amy. So I guess we'll say our goodbyes, and we'll catch you some other time.
See you guys later. And I look forward to listening to this podcast so I can hear what you guys were saying about me. Wait, uh-oh.
Don't worry, we'll bring other topics that require your attention, but we'll also act like you're not in the room.
See you guys later.
See ya.
Have a wonderful evening or night wherever you are in the world, since we are actually all over the world.
Before we continue, quick question. You guys want to keep going? What do you guys think about the 10th degrees in martial arts? 10th degree black belts and other equivalents? Are they like real, or is it just marketing ploy? What about Robert? I want to see what Robert has to say.
I don't know enough about belts and stuff like that to comment, except that a recent post in the forum, Sean convinced me that they exist. I had no idea before, but I did do a little bit of following his links and stuff, and from what I see, that they do exist, but I don't know from actual experience. I don't know enough about belts, so Tim would probably have more to say on the subject.
Yeah, what about it, Tim? What you got?
Well, there are a lot of 10th dans out there, and I would guess 90% are not really what they claim to be. I just wanted to get this out first, but a real 10th degree for me, or what I have seen, is someone who has dedicated his life to the martial arts, and maybe he's not as strong, fast, capable of actually sparring or fighting other people. But he's a good teacher. He has provided a lot to the martial arts community. So a 10th degree is more like a honorific title, I think. People get that rank mostly when they passed away or when they're really, really old people. So I have never met a 10th degree below his 70s.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. That seems to be more of an honorific rank from the martial arts community as a whole, rather than an actual rank like first or second dan.
Yeah, so sorry to interrupt a little for a minute, because at first, I don't know much about the 10th dan, but everything that you just said resonates with what we in Kung Fu call a grandmaster. So a lot of people, if someone named themselves a grandmaster, then they're, a fraud, whatever. And a grandmaster is exactly what you just described. To me, it's someone who has a lot of experience. They're a really good teacher. It doesn't necessarily mean that they can go in a ring and fight. It is kind of an honorific title. So yeah, everything you just said resonates with what I know as a grandmaster. And yeah, probably 90% of grandmasters are fake or don't deserve the title, but there are those who really do and it's kind of a controversial subject in the Kung Fu community.
Would you guys be able to tell the difference between somebody that just calls themselves the 10th degree equivalent rank or somebody that is legitimately earned the rank?
To me, I've been to a few seminars in some kind of shady organizations. At the seminar, they had over 6 10th Dan rank people, and I stood there and thought to myself, well, that is pretty a bunch of 10th Dans they have here. Okay, let's see what they can do. And there was one person, he was in the middle of his 50s, so that's a red flag to go. The way he taught his class at the seminar was, the distance was off. Everything was, more staged to look like a cool movie fight than like a real altercation with a person. So he claimed it to be self-defense, and it looked completely like a bad choreography of some kind of kung fu movie. So that was pretty clear best picture of a fraud.
What about you, Robert?
Could I recognize a fraudulent grandmaster? Is that your question?
Yeah.
I
Just
wouldn't.
for the record, Grandmaster in 10th degree is in most circles is literally like word for word the exact same title.
Right, that's kind of what I've noticed. I haven't been around Japanese arts enough to say on that, but that's what it sounds like to me. I would say my training isn't high level enough to truly determine if someone was a fraud or not when it comes to that high of a level. But I have seen some, quote, grandmasters that I was highly skeptical about. And then I have actually met one grandmaster that I'm sure is actually a grandmaster. And, in my opinion, obviously that's subjective. And yeah, there's definitely a distinction between somebody who's a master and a grandmaster in my experience, because what distinguishes the difference, and it's not a matter of who would win in a fight, it's a matter of competency and understanding of the art, and within the drills or ways that you communicate your skill of the art, such as in Wing Chun, it's Chi Sao. I've seen my Sifu get completely manhandled by our grandmaster to the point where he looked like a complete amateur. And so to me, that's the difference, is like somebody who's already really high level in the art, and then they can go and get dominated by their master or grandmaster, and really there's no other Sifus who can show the level of competency is a measurement of skill.
That's interesting. Anything to add to that, Tim?
I think we said everything that we can to this topic.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys to do all the talking on that particular topic. Don't want to get too aggressive. Now on a more fantasy-based topic, if you had a time machine and you could go back in time to whatever time you wanted, only backwards, what person would you talk to in the martial arts community in general? Like, like talk to an old grandmaster or whatever. Robert?
I know it sounds cliche for me because I'm a Wing Chun guy. I obviously would love to meet Ip Man.
Oh, that's
Can
cool.
you hear?
Did not see that coming at all.
Well, because he's kind of where the whole thing became what it is today. Obviously everything originated way before him, but he condensed it into a system that can be taught, and he himself wasn't an amazing fighter, and it kind of goes to the subject we were just talking about. He was a grandmaster, literally, that created a whole new system, style from the system that is able to be passed down from people to people. And he himself has trained a lot of really high-level fighters, even though the people he trained would have beat him to a bloody pulp. He was the source of their knowledge.
So you go back to for any particular reason other than have a little chat?
Well, obviously, I'd like to touch hands with him and do some training, because he's the type of person that the second you get physical contact and interact with, you're learning at a very rapid rate. I mean, and that's another thing, and it's kind of a weird thing to talk about, but there's a difference in having a teacher who's able to talk about a subject and teach you principles and concepts, and someone that the second you touch them, or you interact with them, you learn without even talking. I don't know if that makes sense, but there are people you don't even have to talk to. Just from physical contact and interaction, you're able to learn a lot. And some of the most high-level people that I've met, they don't really have to talk to you much. A lot of what they have to teach you is just through touch.
And now this Ip Man, he lived a long time. So, is there any particular time in his life that you would like to go back to, like perhaps before World War II, like when he started his training, before he split off his other instructor, or like, you know, 10 years before he died, or what's up?
Yeah, probably 10 years before he died, when he had a lot of like Wang Lung and a lot of these high level practitioners who were his students, and he was still in physical condition to be able to train. That would be the time I would want to interact with him. And it's not like, I'm not saying Ip Man's like the most amazing martial artist ever, but he definitely is like the starting of a tree of people under him who all look up to him as a source of knowledge in the art, and so that's why I'd like to interact with him.
Oh, that's pretty cool. What about you, Tim? Is there any particular figure in martial arts history that you'd like to go back to meet?
It might also feel a little bit like a cliche, but I would go back to Okinawa, to the time when Itosu uncle lived. The guy who put the karate training into the Okinawan school system. And I would be around the time right before he brought karate to the school system. So in that time, karate was very heavily shifting and transforming. So what's the right word? Not the community, the wider word for that. The people who live on the island. What's a good
The
word?
villagers in there?
Larger.
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say it got more attention from people who are not doing martial arts, so got more known around. So it kind of stepped out from being practiced by a handful of people to being practiced by hundreds of people.
Oh, so you'd like to meet him before the system got widespread?
Exactly.
Oh.
Because at that time I could ask him, why do the techniques in karate get the names they have? Was it to make training safer, to hide something from people who are starting training? So why do we have techniques that are called a block or a receiving technique when they're actually used as grappling or striking techniques? So all this stuff I would like to ask him, and very specifically because he created the Pinan and Heian katas, the 5 in total. It's commonly said that these kata were designed especially for schools and for children to be practiced. For me, who's practicing these 5 kata for more than 2 decades now, I don't believe that, but I cannot be sure. So I really, really would like to ask Itosu Anko about that.
So they're like some first-hand training without the burden of the possible mistranslations that have been going on throughout the decades?
Yeah, that would be very nice.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So that's interesting, and it goes to what I was saying, because Ip Man, he what you just said kind of reminds me of who he was. He had learned traditionally in at least Wing Chun Kung Fu, every master only had one disciple. And a disciple is basically where they choose to pass on all of their knowledge, and then that disciple will have a class, but they don't always teach that class everything. They just choose one person to teach everything. Well, Ip Man broke tradition, and because it was the time of World War II, he was desperate for money, and he decided to start teaching more people. And he was one of the first people in the Wing Chun lineage that chose to teach a lot of people. And he shared secrets in a way that people before him didn't. And there's a lot of controversy as to how many of what students he shared the true secrets with, and which ones he shared distorted secrets with. So it's kind of one of those things where like different lineages go, well, we know the real secrets from it, man. And then other people are like, no, you guys got the fake ones. We got the real ones. And so, yeah, I mean, if you could go back in time and really tap into Ip Man or even his masters and get the real lowdown on the true secrets, that would be awesome. And that kind of reminds me of what you said about the names of the techniques and stuff like that.
What would you do with all that information afterwards?
Just
Spread it.
yeah, just marvel in it and absorb it and spread it to people who you thought would appreciate it.
You guys are very selfless.
I mean, to me, it's just it's a hobby. It's also something I take seriously, but to me, it's something I just am passionate about and enjoy. It's not something that I'm like wanting to keep the secrets. I mean, I even have people at work who want to learn, and I'm happy to teach them for free. I'm not a teacher. I'm not even certified to teach, but I would be happy to share what I do know with them.
Yeah, I would go with a completely DVD lineage, at least 6 seasons long, and each season 2 to 5 books. The very true secrets of Itosu Angu's karate, volume 1 to 10. Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah, I think I would just use it for my own entertainment. Just be able to look at everybody else and be like, how do you not get it? Why are you getting it so wrong? It's so simple. I just talked to the guy last week. It's simple stuff.
Yeah, that would be a nice perspective.
Yeah, because I feel like even if I had, let's say, the ultimate knowledge on every single system, it wouldn't mean much in terms of, like, for example, let's say um what's a good one? Let's say I had the Muiboran everything in it, like from the beginning, what it's supposed to be and all that stuff. But then at the current time, like Muay Thai is the one that's kind of up there. So bringing all that old school knowledge, still the old school's no longer appreciated, even if it is more efficient or whatever. It's still taken as like, yeah, well, we already outgrew that. We maybe outgrew it the wrong way, but what you're bringing is a new system. It's not the old system. It's not the right way to do it. It's not the old way to do it. It's literally a new system, and that's the only way it's gonna be taken as. And that's how I feel. Like people wouldn't respect it as like, hey, these are the corrections to all the mistakes we've been making. Check it out. They'd be more like, no, 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 no. You just think you're better than everybody. So take your stuff and shove it.
Yeah, that's a very exact description of human beings in martial arts.
Yeah, because it reminded me like when Robert was saying it, because like, oh no, I have the real Ip Man secrets, or the other guy's like, oh no, I have the real Ip Man secrets, and then there's nobody that says, hey, you two have the real Ip Man secrets. Let me just learn from both of you, and I can put them together, and then now I have all the Ip Man secrets. No, instead they're like, no, 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 let's just segregate each other, and I'll wear blue and you wear red, and you stay on that side of the street, and I'll wear a leather jacket and switch blades and greased up hair and whatever.
Yeah, that's why I just take it for what it is. I actually appreciate all of the lineages who say they have the secrets or different stuff. I just take a little bit from all of them, and I'm very open-minded to that kind of thing.
Now, on the topic of old school martial arts traditionalism and yada yada yada, what do you guys think about weapons? Not just weapons training, more like, I guess, just ownership of weapons, whether they be for collecting or training with, or just, I don't know, as a hobby overall. Is there such a thing as too many?
Um,
Tim.
well, there are too many weapons if they don't fit in your house or flat or whatever. So if you have to store them in the basement, I think it's getting kind of ridiculous. But lately, a friend of mine is a carpenter, and he mainly made all the bow and wooden stuff I'm working with. On Thursday this week, I went to training, and he stood there and said, "Well, I got 2 new individual worked out bow for you." One was very light, and yeah, it's a very light bow, so I can do a little fancy stuff with it. So all this twisting and twirling, so a little tricking. The other one was made of bonkossi. He said it's a very rare, and it's not legal to be sold anymore. So take care of it, and it's very, very hard. It kind of feels like you have a staff of stone in your hands.
Is it heavy?
Yeah, it's 1.8 meters long, and it weighs about 5.5 kilograms.
Not too bad. Wait.
So it's okay to handle.
That's pretty heavy for a piece of wood.
Yeah, that's what
It's pretty dense.
Yeah, it sounds dense. I mean, for only 1.8 meters, that's pretty heavy.
And for only 5 easy payments of $19.99, you too can get yourself whatever Tim said.
That takes me back.
Kind of collecting bows right now. Not that I'm going out to buy them, but my friend is keeping on trying out new kinds of wood and making a new bow out of it, and say, "Hey, give it a try and give me feedback. What's good, what's bad." And that offered me a little collection of weapons to this point.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
I would like to get a new set of sai. That would be nice. I'm not like a collector in general, so I'm not buying weapons just to collect them and to display them.
What about you, Ricky? Do you have weapons? If so, what do you like?
I was gonna ask the same thing to you, Robert. What do you think about weapons? Is there such a thing as having too many?
I don't know if there's such a thing. That's a very personal opinion. I mean, some people would say one's too many, but for me personally, all I have are guns. And mine are purely for fun and one for personal home defense. I don't use weapons in my martial arts yet. Wing Chun does have the butterfly knives and the long pole, but that's the only weapons in our form. So, and then after that, any extra weapons would just be for fun. So that's that.
Since I'm not allowed to own any guns, I'm not having any, but that's a kind of weapon I would like to have in my collection.
Just
they're fun.
Any type of firearm in particular, Tim?
A kind of pistol. I'm not very firm in what kinds of different weapons they are. I can say a pistol or a Colt or a rifle or a shotgun. That's as far as
Have you ever shot a gun, Tim?
Nope, never.
Oh wow, yeah. You would have a lot of fun. They're really fun. We during the summertime here, it's the only time you can really go camping or go out, and stay in nature. And whenever we do, we always take guns and we just go out in the middle of nowhere and shoot, soda cans and stuff like that. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, just make sure you have your back to like some wall just in case somebody else feels like shooting.
No, where we go is literally hours away from the nearest person. We go out in the middle
That's what the
of
nearest
nowhere.
person says.
No, where we go, you literally can't see any. We go out to a place in Utah called the Salt Flats, and it's just flat, and you can see people coming from like a half an hour away. And one time out there,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not putting this on official record, but one time out there, we lit a propane tank like for a barbecuer on fire, and then went about 100 yards away and shot it with a rifle. Yeah, that was cool.
We will not
It
be
sounds like.
in this part.
It looked like in the movies when an explosion happens, huge mushroom cloud of fire. Another time we did a pipe bomb underneath a car that was permanently ruined out there. That was cool too. It blew up like probably 3 meters off the ground.
You ever been to America, Tim?
As a child, I was in 1993 or 1994. We traveled from New York to San Francisco, going through all the sightseeing stuff that America has to offer to a tourist.
That's cool. Next time you go, you should go to, like a range or something. Maybe Vegas. Rent a couple guns. Get to feel it.
Yeah,
See what's
Come to
good.
Utah. I'll show you what's good.
Oh, there you
that's a
go.
good idea.
Utah.
What kind of weapons do you train, Tim?
Mostly the traditional Kubutu weapons like bow, staff, or cold staff, the kama, two short scythes, so like a farming tool, the two sai, tonfa, hanbo, and nitanbo. The more fun weapons like nunchaku or taku are forbidden in Germany, so not
Those
my
aren't
thing.
allowed in Germany?
Nope, not at all.
Very strict weapon
Wow.
law.
Why? I mean, it's a
Well, I
freaking
mean,
stick
because
on a
last
chain.
time they were allowed to do whatever they wanted with weapons, they got carried away twice.
Yeah, but a nunchuck or whatever, nunchaku, whatever they're called. I mean, seriously,
That's
it's
what
the
they
same
said
as a
last
stick.
time, and it took half the world to tell them to chill out.
Yeah, but at that time they had guns.
I mean, starts with nunchucks. Then what's the next thing? Obviously, tanks.
It goes from nunchucks to tanks.
Well, I mean, for nunchucks to katanas, and katanas can cut tanks in half, so might as well just skip over to tanks.
Oh yeah, I've seen a katana cut a tank in half. I saw that on YouTube.
Yeah, that was on Metal Gear Solid, the video game, right?
Oh, you see, you're familiar with the documentary.
Yeah. No, that's weird to me that nunchucks are illegal. I mean, really, I don't understand where that came from.
They are considered to be a choking weapon.
And what about a rope, or shoelaces, or a cord, or a
He
million
said
other things?
weapon, didn't say instrument. The nunchuck is a weapon. Shoelaces are for your shoes. Rope is for tying things. Belt is for your pants. Nunchucks is for killing people.
Nunchucks are for doing a kata.
Taking people's lives. Literally, they're not like the sai, which is a garden tool. These are just tools used for taking people out.
Okay, I guess that's valid. Why do you always got to bring logic?
Because then we get carried away. And then I start saying stupid things like the katana stuff. Now that we're on that tangent, that was actually the last topic on our list. So unless you guys want to bring up some other shenanigans, I guess we can call it a day.
I do have a question, and I feel bad I haven't asked it before. So Tim, are you a sensei or what? You teach classes, I think, right?
Yeah, right. I'm not calling myself sensei. I really got rid of all the Japanese names in the way
Okay,
I
but
teach.
do your students call you sensei, like honorific
No,
title, or
no.
they just call you
I
Tim?
don't like that. They call me Tim, and that's it. I don't want somebody to stand in front of me and say sensei or master or anything like that. I really hate that.
What's your rank, Tim?
I'm second degree in karate and the first degree in jiu-jitsu and kobudo.
First black in Kobudo and Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, dude.
No,
I mean,
yeah, he's qualified.
yeah, that's what I more meant is like, you know, for me, I would never claim, I don't have any students, I would never claim to, so I wanted to know, like, where you're at with that, because I think that's something not everybody knows.
Yeah, sensei would just mean anybody. I mean, a white belt can be a sensei as long as the other person is not smart enough.
Well, yeah. But
Yeah,
we're
no,
talking legitimate here. Like, I don't know. I guess that's not, like, a really good question, but what I meant was, like, I mean, how long have you trained? So you're you're certified to teach, I guess, or maybe there is no certifications in what you do. I don't know.
There is
are you an instructor?
yes, I had to do, or we have different instructor levels in Germany. It's from C, B, and A. The A level is only received for sports competitions. So if you want to train an athlete for karate tournaments, you have to get the A license.
And
So
how do you achieve that?
you have to do.
Have to kill all the other ones before you.
Yeah, that would be great, but sadly, you have to do a 6-week seminar to achieve the C level, and to get to the B level, you have to do another 4 weeks. But the standards are pretty low. So,
So basically, you have the martial proficiency as a practitioner, and then in order for them to qualify whether or not you can translate that into instructing, you take a special course for it, and that's it.
yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So, and to be able to test people for belt tests and stuff, you have to get also a certificate to be able to test people, besides your certification as a teacher.
Yeah, because a few years ago, I don't remember how long, I think it's either H Jiu-Jitsu or B JJ had the standard of like you have to be third black and then you can run an entire school on your own. So, second degree and a couple other black seem fairly qualified.
So is it a specific test you have to pass, or is it like an invite type of thing? Or, you know, you're chosen?
I don't get that question.
He's
Chosen
asking if once you're that ranked, do you get an invitation in the mail from some organization saying, would you like to become an instructor? Or after you decide that you want to instruct people, you go to the organization and say, I would like to test to get my certification because I want to teach.
Yeah.
It's the latter.
Okay, so more what I meant is like in my I guess you call it quote organization. The only way you become a instructor is if your instructor feels you are qualified and feels you understand it. It's not like an official test you have to pass. It's not like you follow a curriculum and when you're done you get to do it. It's more of a you're chosen by your instructor and he says, hey, you know, you've shown the commitment, you've shown the dedication, you've shown the understanding, and I want you to be an instructor under me if you so choose to.
That also happened to me because my teacher is also my father in karate. At some point, he said to me, well, you think of things we do different than I do, and it would be a good thing for students to get your point of view too. So go get this certificate and you'll be able to teach here.
I see. Okay.
I think the getting the certificate holds more value as the teacher than being told you can teach from your instructor. Because any instructor can say, you know what, you're ready to teach, but the instructor is qualified to teach, but whether or not he's qualified to know whether or not you're going to teach, he may be, he might not be, but also he takes no responsibility for whatever you do as an instructor. However, when you go take a certificate, it seems like you take your own responsibility as to whether or not you're going to teach. Like I would respect instructors making instructors more if their standards carried on to the new instructors and the same consequences would befall the other instructor. Like sometimes I see that happen. You see a bad instructor, you talk to their instructor, and they can do something about it. But about 99% of the time, the old instructor is like, "Well, it's not my problem."
Yeah,
It's
that's
not their
very
problem
valid.
that you made him the instructor, so it's technically you're the only reason that problem exists. But now you're saying it's not your problem. At least when you take
Right.
the course from like the government or whatever, at least it's your problem as the instructor. You did that all on your own, and your own responsibility. You're a big boy, so handle the problems.
Right. So within what I was saying, I mean, I obviously oversimplified it. So there is your instructor chooses you as a quote disciple, or that they're going to say, you're able to teach under me. There's a huge amount of responsibility that goes upon that because it largely reflects upon you. And so even if you choose a student that is an honorary student that you are passing your legacy or whatever onto, it goes above you. So at that point, even if you choose somebody, it represents the whole organization. And so the people above your instructor actually have a say in whether you're qualified or whatever you want to say to be able to represent the organization. So it goes way above just above the instructor that chooses you. It goes 2 times above
Sometimes.
you. Well, yeah, in a good organization, at least in mine it does. So it's not like my Sifu can say, "Hey, Rob, I want you. You're qualified to teach, whatever," and that's it. It actually goes above him and then above him again for people to say, "Okay, yeah, he's demonstrated proficiency and ability to represent our organization."
But then at that point, it also seems like, well, are they going to take responsibility for any mistake that new instructor makes? And does that mean that the instructor that's promoting him is unqualified to promote him? So in other words, it doesn't matter what he says. We should just go above him and ask everybody else instead.
It definitely lays responsibility on the instructor, and if you ever tried to go above him, it would not happen. There's a chain of command, if you will. You have to go to your instructor, or not go to your instructor, demonstrate to your instructor that you are committed enough and understand it enough. He will then extend the offer to you. It's you're chosen in that way. It's like, Rob, you've been studying for 10 years, you've shown proficiency, you know the whole system, and you've shown dedication. Would you be willing to accept to be an instructor? And then if you choose, you are then vetted by your instructor's instructor, and they have to agree that you are worthy, basically. And if you end up being a problem child, if you will, you're a shitty instructor, or you spread nonsense, you would be shamed, and it would actually bring shame to your instructor as well for bringing you in. I mean, it would be
That
like,
seems
what would
like
you
a
think?
good loophole, though.
What do you mean?
Like once you mess up as being ranked instructor, there's nothing they can do to take it away other than say they take it away.
Well, yeah, I mean, anybody can claim they're an instructor, but
Yeah.
if when you go, like if you were going to my Sifu and say, "Hey, what's your qualifications?" and he says, "Well, I'm a Sifu under so and so. If you were a student who is being thorough, you would then go to their instructor, and they would say like, no, he's garbage. He's representing himself
But
on his
but if
own.
he was at one point a legitimate instructor promoted by them, and they took it away, that makes the organization look bad because you're promoting people that aren't qualified, fully aware of it.
People can be qualified, but also make their own decisions and changes that the organization doesn't agree with. I mean, that happens within anything. You can have, you can see someone as qualified at one point, and then, we're humans. They can choose to change things, whatever that you disagree with, or they go off the deep end. And then, I mean, that happens everywhere.
Hmm. But then again, the organization takes zero responsibility for it. They just say, "Oh, well, he's not with us anymore." Yeah, but he choked the guy out and threw him on a river. Oh yeah, yeah, but yeah, when we told him no. Yeah, but before that you said he was cool, and then he choked out the guy and threw him in the river. Uh, yeah, well, we don't care. It's just he's not with us anymore. Oh well, then why are you promoting people that are gonna choke people out and throw them in the river?
Yeah,
You get
but
what I'm
I
saying?
think
Like
that
if
could
you do
happen.
that with the law, like with no, you go to the government and you're like, hey, I want to be a doctor. Here's your license. Hey, I stopped the guy. Oh, well, you're going to prison forever.
That could happen in that case too, though. I mean, that's what I'm saying is it could happen
You're
in
saying
any.
that these organizations are literally going to take drastic action into their hands to ensure that they're not promoting psychos?
Well, they do their best, yeah. I
Okay.
mean, at
Yeah,
least
yeah, just
within.
curious because I've seen some of those organizations that claim to be good, but it's like, dude, I can just, Google it for 5 minutes and I can tell you five guys that are total pieces of shit that you said were good a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, at least within my school, that I would say is that not our instructors don't just judge people based on their skill, they also judge them based on their moral, compass, who they are as a person. It's really one of those things where they have hundreds and hundreds of students and they choose somebody who they feel is suited. I mean, and if it ends up that person is a closet psycho, then, I mean, you can't really help that. But,
Yeah, but you should be able to help it. I mean, that's your responsibility, isn't it? I mean, when you train somebody, you can tell whether or not they're a closet psycho. And if you can't, are you qualified to train them on how to, you know, be a better closeted psycho? Because that's like martial arts training is literally that, making the best serial killer and then training them to not be a serial killer. You teach people how to kill and also teach them how to, wind it back a little bit right before you go a little overboard. But all of the training involves possibly murdering somebody, whether it be by accident or on purpose.
yeah. Well, that I'm aware of, that's never happened in my organization, but I mean, I guess it's possible.
Yeah, just curious because, like I said, I've seen other organizations that like to brag about, like, we got these, we got these, we got that. And then whenever you're like, hey, what about this little blur right here in the corner? Oh, we don't talk about that anymore. It's like, why don't you talk about it? That you should be talking about it. That should be your your the first thing you talk about. Hey, we have this cycle here, but we handled it. Also, we have all these other guys that are really good.
Right.
Instead, they do it the other way. Oh, we got all these other guys, and don't look at that corner because, yeah, we kind of messed up. But instead of being responsible and saying we are no longer qualified to make people instructors, we just sweep it under the rug and pretend like, oh yeah, we're still cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Tim? You ever had those scenarios where you see somebody being, promoted, and then you're like, never mind?
Well, right. Lately, we have a lot of politics going on in our organization. Sadly, it's the only really worldwide recognized karate association in Germany. So we kind of have to stick to it. For our state the head of the State Department for karate was promoted to 8th Dan lately, and he's 56. And in our rule set, in our organization, it's written that you have to be at least 60 years old to be ranked 8th Dan. So my father and I wrote a letter to the organization president and asked him politely, how could it be that a person is allowed to be ranked 4 years before he reaches the age that is needed or considered to be? We still wait for an answer, and that's now 11 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's so those politics. It's always everybody trying to do good. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but oh well. Right, Robert?
I couldn't care less for that person being ranked in any way, but the thing is, he has to say it's okay for my father to be able to test people for the first Dan level. My father himself is a 5th Dan in Shotokan karate, and they still say, no, we won't let you test people for first Dan because we don't want to.
Wait, a 5th degree is not allowed to test for Shodan?
Exactly, because of the stupid idea of separating instructor's license and their testing license.
Yeah, that sounds kind of whack.
Doesn't
it, Robert? Doesn't it sound kind of crazy?
Yeah, that sounds really weird to me. I mean, I don't understand. I actually don't understand that at all.
Yeah, I mean, like, at least for me, maybe my standards, obviously different than over there, but around 4th degree, that's when you're like, okay, it's kind of, 3rd and under, you should be able to grade them and then keep going up on your own, I guess. But Shodan is like, it's nothing. Sure, it's a big deal. Oh, I'm a black belt, but skill-wise and everything, it's still basically a beginner. So
yeah, it's the starting point of the journey.
Yeah.
To say yes, you're not allowed to do that it's kind of weird. To see that person then breaking the rules by 4 years is pretty damn stupid.
So basically, a black belt is where you know all the techniques and you've shown proficiency in them, right?
Yeah, like white is when you start, and other colors in between are for kids, and then black is when you're like, oh, I already beat boot camp and whatever. Now I'm a real beginner when it comes to the real martial art.
So how long does it take to get to a black belt in most of the karate?
In our German organization, it at least takes you 8 years.
Oh wow, that's, in my opinion, that's way beyond just understanding the basics and the beginning.
I was thinking you were gonna say like 2 to 5 years max.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I mean, I think that's, well, and it actually says a lot about your organization, in my opinion. Like, that's a good thing, because I've known black belts that I was like, why did you get a black belt? Unless it would just meant that you knew the techniques, you knew the lingo, you knew the drills, and that's it, but you weren't good at it. That's my understanding of a black belt.
Well, I know a guy that was a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in 1 day. So, it's kind of...
In 1 day?
Kind of crazy.
That's kind of
Yeah, he was like a 4th degree judoka, so I mean, he wasn't going to be black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because obviously different system, but he was good enough with the judo that he was able to translate most of it. And
yeah, sure,
his instructor... Yeah, and he was a fighter, I think probably MMA. So he had a little bit of BJJ from the common sense mixed training that they have to have in MMA. So by the time the instructor saw him, he knew him and then tested him the first day. He's like, yeah, straight to brown belt. You got the proficiency, and now you just need to work on on the hard stuff.
Yeah, I'm totally okay with that if the skill set is carrying over to another art. Why not? Why have to say, okay, we do the long road, we do all the money grabbing, have to wait years for being ranked brown belt in Brazil and Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. So there you have it, kids. Next time somebody questions your rank, just put up your fist and then ask them to question that.
I'm good with that.
Well, and that's valid because I've known some really low-ranked people that would be a really bad idea to mess with.
And on that note, we'll be cutting it off right here because it's a little bit late here. Almost midnight on this side of the world. And I guess we'll catch you later on the next podcast. See you later,
All right.
Tim, Robert.
Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you too, and have a good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Ricky.